Hi there, greetings and salutations. Derek, I'm not sure what number we're on. Do you know?
229? 229, I think.
Did we miss 227?
No, 227 was the Horizon League show. Yes, we folded in, and I know that was a Monday night, and that was a remote broadcast, but that was
fun,
technically 227.
Was
Always
really
fun. Always fun. And how about Robert Morris? Performed,
They did.
I thought, very, very
They
well, albeit in a loss, but still very, very competitive.
Underseeded, I thought.
Yeah.
I thought they didn't get enough respect, but they showed themselves very well. My name is Jake Query. That is Derek Schultz. It is apparently show number 200. That's hard to believe. 229 shows here of Query and Schultz. Actually, we should right off the top thank those that make that possible. Because Bailey & Wood, who is our presenting sponsor, is absolutely fantastic. The best in terms of mortgage rates, the best folks that are going to work for you to get you those best rates and keep your money here in Central Indiana from a philanthropic standpoint. Family-owned business, lot to love about them. BAWFG.com is their website. They are the absolute best. Hoagies and Hops, who we'll talk about later in the program, Chateau Kitchens, Chili Water. We are happy to have all of them on board, and all of you for continuing to watch and listen. It's much appreciated. And we are now, Derek, at the point of the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament. The only interloper, really, from a seeding standpoint that would surprise people would be Arkansas. But if you are one of those who listened to episode 228, you knew Arkansas was going to be there because we talked about I would not want to face Arkansas. But either way, I love the tournament. It's still fun. It's been kind of boring.
Yeah, and the spirit of the tournament is lost when you have the final 16 teams are 7 from the SEC, 4 from the Big 10, 4 from the Big 12, and Duke. It just is. The spirit of the tournament. Right. Look, we can sit here all we want and argue about that. Oh, that's better to have the big boys advance because there's better games later. By the way, big teams, power teams blow out power teams in this thing all the time too. So that's not a guarantee that we're going to get a bunch of great games in the regionals just because all the big boys advance. But it just zaps the spirit and the fun of the tournament to not have Arkansas's not a Cinderella. You know what Arkansas's NIL budget was for this season?
Yeah,
Like, come on, give me a break. John Calipari is their head coach, for God's sake. So they're not a Cinderella, and we don't have any mid-majors. You really, you had McNeese, okay, fine, and the manager, that was kind of a, right? He walks in with a boombox. That was kind of a fun story. I thought Drake was kind of a fun story. Colorado State had Maryland dead to rights.
Colorado State got
but even Colorado State, that's a Mountain West team, right? Is that really a Cinderella?
Right.
I'm used to seeing the Richmond Spiders in there and teams like that, and you didn't get that. So I think that's disappointing. But I am excited looking at some of these matchups, and I guess we could lead from a local aspect. I was real down on Purdue going into this thing. I was fully prepared for Purdue to just be a one-and-done team. Not because of their history and because of the narrative and all that other nonsense, just because they really haven't played good basketball for 6 weeks.
Right.
They really haven't.
Well, they got here by doing Purdue things, though, right?
Yeah.
Going back to who they are.
They skidded to the finish, but it just shows, Jake, in a single elimination tournament, you never really know what you're going to get. And you could say what you want about, did they get an advantageous draw? Look, McNeese outclassed Clemson for 35 minutes. Like, that game was a 2-point game.
No, you're right.
That was a 15-point game for 35 minutes.
And Clemson couldn't corral McNeese, and Purdue did.
Yeah.
Defensively, Purdue did what they had to do.
It was never a game.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't think McNeese it was 27-11, and it never got closer than 16 outside of the final minutes when it was already, and even then it got to a 14-point game. And even the High Point game, Jake, I know High Point got it to 3 at one point, I think at like the 7-8 minute mark. Did it ever cross your mind that Purdue was going to lose that game?
Purdue in that game was, they had a comfortable, every time that High Point would get it there within like the 1 or 2 possessions, Purdue would go on a mini run and push it back to 8 or 9, so it felt pretty comfortable.
I mean, they kept them at arm's length for the most part in that game too. So
my arm or your arm?
They got back. What's that?
My arm or your arm?
I have very long arms. I actually have. I have
Okay.
a great. If we did like a combine thing, I would score much better than you because wingspan, hand size would be small.
Yes,
Hand size. I can leap and I can. We've talked about this on the show. I can stay in the air for a longer time. I have a longer hang time than most people. Like my vertical jump, my vert isn't great, but my hang is really good. Like elite level athlete good hang. Well, the problem is that I can't get up high enough.
Of course, it takes you longer to come back down. You're like 105 pounds.
Well, on a 7-foot goal, basketball goal, I can do like the Michael Jordan from the free throw line dunk because I can stay in the air longer. The problem is that I need the rim lowered so I could get there because
You
my
can't
vert isn't
palm
that
the ball.
high. Oh, I'm talking with like a Nerf ball. Yeah, like a Nerf level type ball. Because again, small hand size. We're going back to the things. Look, Jake, I don't score A's in all the categories, but I do score A's in more of them than not.
How many players in today's NBA? There are how many teams?
In the NBA?
Yes.
30.
30 teams?
Yeah.
15 per roster, right? So you're looking at 450 guys, right? How many guys could do in 2025 could take off from the free throw line and kick both legs out behind them and then dunk?
Oh, like I think everybody in the league can do that.
You think so?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, I'll
Zach
bet it
Edey
is.
might not be able to do that.
I'll bet it's probably 375 of the 450.
I would think every guard and every wing
in
in the league can do
1988, that answer was 1.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's far less impressive. But steering back to Purdue, and we talked about the ancillary pieces, right? Trey Kaufman-Moran's going to give you what he gives you. He's a great player. Braden Smith, for the most part, even though he didn't really play well against McNeese, for the most part, he's going to give you what he's going to give you. It's about Heidi and Colvin, and hell, they got good minutes from Will Berg, of all people, in the first game, closing out that halftime.
Of all people, come on now.
Well, Will Berg, barely played this year.
Right.
But Cam Heidi was 11 and 10. Points and rebounds against High Point. Jakari Harris has 13 rebounds in the first 2 games. CJ Cox hit some big spot shots. He had 11 points against McNeese. That's what Purdue needs. Now, Houston is a whole different ball of wax than the other 2 teams that they faced so far. But I think Purdue has put themselves in a situation where you can live with the result. And if you're a Purdue fan, more often than not, you play for the situations, you hope for the situations where, they had a good season. If they lose, they lose. That's how I feel about it.
My concern for Purdue would be this. Here's the plus and the minus for Purdue. Plus, going to be a home game for them, right? Because they're playing at Lucas Oil.
And all the Kentucky and Tennessee fans will be rooting for Houston. All right, we'll be rooting for Purdue.
Correct, to get the number 1 out of there, right? Yeah. But Houston plays Purdue's game on steroids.
Yeah.
I think Houston is just super defensive, super, you know what I mean? I mean, they look, Kelvin Sampson's teams play hard. Kelvin Sampson is the Gene Cady, Matt Painter model, right? Yeah. I mean, just that, play hard, in your face, push you out, not let you get it may be difficult for them to get the ball into Kaufman-Renn because it's designed to keep it away from him.
Yeah, this game to me is very similar to the Notre Dame IU football playoff game, where IU went into that game and you're looking at all of IU's strengths and you're like, Notre Dame does all of this but better.
Yes.
And that's and that's why it was a 27-3 game before garbage time, right? Now, I don't know necessarily that Houston's going to run Purdue off the floor. I think they're a heavy favorite and they should be. But that's what I worry about here for Purdue is that all of Purdue's strengths seemingly are stronger strengths for Houston.
Who is the least likely number 1 seed to get to the Final Four?
Of who's left?
Yeah, well, they're all left, right?
Yeah. Oh, I guess you're right. Yeah, because we've had a lame tournament kind of so far. Even though Florida got outplayed for 37 and a half minutes.
Right.
They were very fortunate. Well, let's go through the matchups. Maryland has Florida, right?
Okay.
Purdue has Houston. Auburn has Michigan.
That may be right.
Yeah. And then who am I missing? Duke has.
No, hold on. Is it Duke does not have? I can tell. Who does BYU play?
BYU's on the broad. They're a 6, so they take the 2 seed on.
Okay, so hold on.
Yeah. Charlie, you back there? Can you look at a bracket for us so we don't have to do this on the air?
I'm looking at it right here.
Because Jake on his phone has dial up on his phone. He's got a 2010 BlackBerry.
No, we have 2010 Wi-Fi.
Well,
what it is. Who is the? Hold on.
We need to know who Duke is playing.
Yeah, what?
Hey, I don't like that. Can we get that in post? I don't like that cryon. I work for them now. Purdue surprising the masses by not choking. You know what?
Purdue went to the national championship game.
Let me say this about Purdue. Purdue's now been to the Sweet 16, so the second weekend of the tournament, 6 out of the last 8 years. I think there's a common misconception that St. Peter's was a first-round game. It was not. It was a Sweet 16 game.
Arizona.
Yeah, Purdue. Arizona, who's been way worse in the tournament than Purdue the last 8 years.
I
way
will
worse.
Say, Arizona to me feels like the team and the tournament, and I'm going to show my total ignorance and naivete here, right? Arizona feels like the team in the tournament that you naturally assume they're good because of their name, but I know nothing about them this year.
I don't think I've watched Arizona play once this year.
Correct.
Whereas in previous years, they were like number one. I saw them, they played in Indy last year. If you look at, Matt Painter's been at Purdue 20 years. Doesn't feel like he's been there at 20 years, right? But he's been there 20 years. If you look at the full scope, the full body of work of what Matt Painter and Purdue how they've performed in this tournament, it is just as good as anybody else. It is far more often than not, they play 2 seed. And what I mean by that is if you're a 2 seed, you play to the Elite 8, right? If you're a 3 seed, you play to the Sweet 16. If you're a 4 seed, you play to the Sweet 16. They've played 2 seed. But all of their upsets came in a bunch, and one of them was the biggest upset in college basketball history. Right. So you understand the narrative that comes from that. But this idea, Purdue's going to do what they do. Purdue. They've made the Sweet 16 6 times in the last. Do you know how many times Wisconsin has made the Sweet 16 in the last 8 years? None times. So 6 Sweet 16s in the last 8 years for Purdue. That's 6 more than Wisconsin has made. And you don't talk about Wisconsin. Yeah, they're going to do what they do. And that's what people do with Purdue all the time. So, yeah, like, okay, Schultz, yeah, you work for them. You like Purdue. Okay, fine. But look at the body of work. Look at the 20 years under Matt Painter and show me how many times they failed. They lost to TCU with the E229 Juwan Johnson team. Okay, fine. They lost to Little Rock when Little Rock was banking in threes with 90 seconds left. A total fluke finish. Fine. And then you had the North Texas, St. Peter's, and obviously the unspeakable night against FDU. You had all those things. Duke lost to VCU. Duke lost to Lehigh. Duke lost to Mercer.
I think we debate.
Teams lose those games.
Was Fairleigh Dickinson beating Purdue a bigger upset than UMBC beating Virginia?
Yes. We've talked about this on the show. FDU shouldn't have even been in the tournament. They were the second-place team in the worst league in America. They got in because Merrimack was transitioning to Division I, and they were not eligible.
But
NEC had never won a round of 64 NCAA tournament game.
But UMBC, number one, a satellite school, right?
Yeah, but so is FDU. FDU is a commuter college in New Jersey.
Okay, but number two, it had never been done before when UMBC did it.
Maybe it's more memorable because UMBC was the first, but you're not asking me that. You're asking me what was the bigger upset.
I think UMBC was the bigger upset because of the fashion. They blew them off the floor.
They did, but UMBC, I remember going back and looking, I think it was like Ken Palm or something like that, had them like 150, 160. FDU was one of the first 50 worst teams in America. They got in because they won the NEC, right, by default. Right. But they were one of the 50 worst teams in America.
Who's the NEC representative this year?
Mount St. Mary's, and they were 16. The NEC champion is almost always a 16 seed.
And I have a problem with that, by the way. If you win your league and you get to win your league, I don't care how little your league is. If the NCAA tournament is set up for the at-large and then the automatic qualifiers, if you win your league that makes you an automatic qualifier, you should not have to play a play-in game.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you.
Like, I'm automatically inviting you to my party, unlike Derek for his 40th birthday party and me not getting invited.
Oh, sorry. Mount St. Mary's was in the MAC. Sacred Heart's in the MAC. They were in the NEC. So there's been some changes with the NEC. Let's see who the NEC champion was. Sorry. These teams have moved around. Like, people think it's just the Big 10 and the Big 12, but these other teams have moved around too. The NEC champion was, I think it was Central Connecticut State, I think, was the leader in that league. But now David
Corbett played there. North Central class of 1990.
Oh, St. Francis.
Gotcha.
St. Francis, who had a losing record, 16 and 18. They were the NEC champs.
But either way, like, you win your league, you should get.
I kind of agree with you.
You know what I mean?
I kind of agree.
Hey, we're going to invite you to the party, but then once you get there, then we're going to make you arm wrestle somebody on the front porch in order to get in the party.
That's fair.
What?
So, Houston, number one defense in the country. They've won 50. They have the longest winning streak right now. Current one, 15 straight games. But if Purdue loses by 8 points to Houston, you kind of shrug your shoulders, right? I think making the Sweet 16, at the very least, they didn't win the Big Ten. They didn't win the Big Ten tournament. It's something. It's something that you could say, you lose Zach Edey, you lose Lance Jones, you lose Mason Gillis. You're coming off a runner-up finish. Purdue has now maintained this level where they're not like this. Indiana has a great season, and then they go in the tank. Like, that's what they've done over the last 20 years. Purdue stays here, and sometimes they go up, sometimes they, you know what I mean? But they stay, the baseline is here,
Houston,
and that's a good place to be.
Houston is the answer to my favorite NCAA tournament trivia question. Do you know what the question is?
No, I don't.
Houston has a dubious claim when it comes to the history of the NCAA tournament.
Most Final Fours without winning it?
Correct.
Yeah. How many have there been? 5?
6.
Okay.
They went 3 with Elvin Hayes, 2 with Olajuwon, and then one.
Oh, that's right. The 21, the COVID
team
here played in the Final Four, and they got boat raced by Baylor, right? Didn't Baylor destroy them?
Yes.
Well, Baylor destroyed Gonzaga, too. That was a really good team.
No
one ever talks about them because they're Baylor, but that was a really good team. And because
it was the COVID year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of forget.
Really, really good team.
Gonzaga was undefeated, were they not?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Baylor did Indiana the favor.
Purdue is 15-4 in their last 19 games against lower-seeded teams. They've performed to their seed in 11 of 16 tournaments. Painter has been to 8 Sweet 16s and 16 appearances. You know how many Gene Katie went to? Sweet 16s. 17 appearances. 5. Yeah. I mean, you look back, and don't get me wrong, I love Gene Katie, and the court's named after him. But if you're talking about tournament performance, and you look at Painter compared to Katie, Painter maybe had more high-profile flameouts, but Katie's teams performed far worse.
Katie got some tough draws too, but yes,
he did. But I think that style of play was tough when you got out of the Big Ten. I think it worked for the Big Ten, but it was tougher in just normal circumstances.
The tournament also, Derek. When you look at this, and again, we're going like chalk to use your term here, right? In terms of the expected, the team that you feel like is playing the best in the country right now is who?
I mean, Duke. If Cooper Flagg is suddenly like halfway through his college career going to have no flaws in his offensive game now, then I just don't know how you stop that.
But he's only averaging like 19 a
game.
Yeah,
but Cooper Flagg was a really great player beforehand, but he had some weaknesses, and now it seems like those weaknesses have gone away. They've melted away over the course of the year. And, that Baylor team that they played is scrappy and tough, and they hung around for the first 10, 12 minutes, and then Duke just laid waste to them. Everybody was on Florida, and Florida was in real trouble against UConn there. They were very, very fortunate to get out of that. I think Houston is very, very good, but Houston can get got.
By the way,
who else is in that mix?
Let me throw one thing in there for you about UConn that goes back to something we talked about last week. We had I wouldn't say disagreement, but I think differing viewpoints on the level of Danny Hurley and whether or not UConn has taken a step back now because this guy's a lunatic. Did you see the latest?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And what their comms director did and all that.
So Danny Hurley's leaving the game. He's yelling at somebody, I don't know, the officials or something.
Talking to the other team. Baylor's about to take the floor against Duke.
That's right.
And he says, hopefully they didn't F you like they just F'd us.
So somebody records it.
It's a local Raleigh TV guy.
And like the Connecticut communications director, what's he saying? Like he's threatening to...
Yeah, we'll ruin your life or something.
Yeah.
I just want to go on the record and say I hated UConn before it became cool to hate UConn. So I am like, I feel like I set the trend for this. Now, Dan Hurley helped that. I mean, I hated UConn far before Dan Hurley. But the arrogance and it's good. It's actually good for college basketball to have a villain. It's good that everybody hates Hurley.
For sure.
He's an amazing coach. Let's get that out of the way. He's an amazing coach. No one is questioning that he's not an amazing coach, but he acts like a petulant child, and you can't point to rings and be like 2 rings, and then also when you get beat, say, but the refs. You can't do that. If you get beat, you got to wear it. And he's not good at wearing anything.
Correct.
But he's a Jersey guy, and he's coaching a Northeast program. And look, I grew up out there. This is how people act. People in Indiana and people in like Iowa and Illinois, they act very differently from people in the tri-state. People in Jersey and Connecticut and New York, they are, a lot of them are lunatics.
Everything's a confrontation, right?
A lot of them are lunatics and defensive about everything. And it's hard to say like you're sorry for things. Like it just is. It's just people are wired differently out there. And that's not to say that there aren't loving, tremendous, amazing people. I have wonderful friendships with people out there, but it's a different mentality. And it's far more accepted out there than it is out here.
Did you realize, like, how old were you when you realized that was not the norm?
Well, it's hard for me because we spent so much time in Indiana because we had family out here and things like that. So I knew what it was like out here. So it wasn't like a culture, like people sometimes ask me, "Was a culture shock?" You come? No, I spent plenty of time in Indiana, so I knew the vibe and all of that. But I mean, it's not something that I miss. I like going into a store and having a friendly conversation with somebody behind the counter. And back there, you don't really do that because it's very much instead of the best way that I could say it is that you walk into a store and it's, "Hey, how you doing?" Here. Out there, you walk into a store and it's, "What do you want?"
Right.
That's the best way that I can say it. That's just the mentality. And it's not to say that the person behind the counter isn't a nice person. It's just
everything's transactional.
That's how the interactions go. Yeah. Like people are like, what? Why are you talking to me? What do you want? You've been to New York. And you spent a lot of time out there.
Yeah. I love New York.
Yeah. I love New York. I love where I grew up. Yeah. But it's like I'm texting back and forth. My buddy Hoffbauer, God love him. He's a great guy. We've been friends for our entire lives.
Never
since
heard of this fella, Hoffbauer?
Yeah, Mike Hoffbauer, UConn grad, the whole deal.
Was he the mascot?
And he's just no, that's McKeel.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's just blowing up my phone about whatever you guys said, Bobby Knight and all of that. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm saying this is like Knight 2.0, and you got to get used to everybody hating you. And they're having. They're getting more defensive about the fact that everybody hates. They take it as a sense of pride now that everybody hates them. UConn fans like this.
Do they really?
Oh yeah, they love it.
But I'm telling you, from a recruiting standpoint, do you think players are going to be like, "Yeah, man, I'm not dealing with it"?
I think it takes a certain type of person to succeed and thrive with Dan Hurley. But you're also looking at it and you're like, the dude wins. And look, he was crying after the game. Right? I mean, I think he deeply loves his team and players and all of that. I think there are a lot of great attributes about Dan Hurley. The guy's a psychopath, though. That's the problem.
Man.
He can't control himself. He can't. So the emotional wave, it's just about channeling and harnessing that, and he can't do that.
It is weird to think they won back-to-back titles, though. And they eviscerated people a year ago.
It's weird to think that they're a blue blood, like that they're one of the 4 or 5 best programs in the country.
Speaking of blue bloods, by the way, one of them that used to be a blue blood, and I guess around here we still say it is. I think people nationally might disagree with that, but Indiana has a new coach, Derek.
They do, yeah, Darren DeVries, and that actually happened, of course, the day that we taped this show. Later on in the afternoon, he was named the next head coach at Indiana. I don't think really anyone is super excited about it. It's not an exciting. That doesn't mean that's the wrong hire. It's not an exciting hire. But that said, if you look at his history, I think there's this conception that everybody succeeds at Drake. Drake is not Dayton. Everybody succeeds at Dayton.
Right.
At Drake, there have been deep, deep valleys at Drake, and he got them winning. And I don't think he ever got enough credit. West Virginia was down bad when he got there, and he flipped them around in a year. And that's not a team that has a program that has a ton of NIL. That's why he took this job. Indiana's, people are like, well, West Virginia's history. None of that matters. Indiana, I bet, has 5 times at least the NIL that West Virginia has.
Drake had 5 20-win seasons before his arrival in their history.
Yeah.
He did it 6 straight years.
Yeah.
Drake needed their roster completely rebuilt from scratch when he got there, and he did so.
At Drake.
At Drake.
Not Kansas, at Drake.
And he did the same at West Virginia. He got the West Virginia job, and they had to rebuild that roster. He's going to have to do the same for Indiana because their roster is going to be plucked away. I mean, Mackenzie Mbako's probably gone. He's in the portal. Doesn't mean he'll leave, but Gabe Cupps, Luke Goody has applied for another year, but we'll see. But yes, I would agree. This was not the oh my gosh, Brad Stevens is coming. Oh my gosh, even Mick Cronin, but. Indiana caught lightning in a bottle with Curt Cignetti and Scott Dolson's approach to that. And this is not Curt Cignetti because he has been at a big program in West Virginia, albeit only for a year. But the elements of the style of play and the tactical approach of we're going to have a game plan, we're going to have a specific model of how we want to play and who we want to be. And this is how we're going to do it. That's something that Indiana has. Indiana's lacked direction, right?
Yeah.
Or identity.
Identity, yeah, for sure.
And this is a guy. Now, the only thing I would say if I'm pointing out a negative about this hire is, and I don't, what I'm about to say I don't think is illegal. I don't even think it's amoral, but it's a little fishy, is he in the press conference was a little too honest about when he said, well, Indiana, after initial talking, they allowed me to focus on my season at West Virginia, and I appreciated that.
Yeah.
And there was, wait a minute.
Yeah, he alluded to the fact that there was contact.
So Scott Dolson said that he was first on their radar when they saw him in the Bahamas when West Virginia was in that same tournament that Indiana was in, and they were impressed by him. But then West Virginia comes back, they play one game, and their best player, who's his son, who's the two-time Missouri Valley Player of the Year formerly, gets injured with like a shoulder injury and sits out the year, and now as a result of that has a final year of eligibility. And DeVries comes out and basically says he insinuated that this was a handshake deal all the way back then.
Yeah, but here's where I buck against – and I know in West Virginia fans are just down the rabbit hole with that. At that point in the season when DeVries got hurt, Indiana was still – Indiana started the season okay. So did West Virginia.
Not down there, though.
They started they didn't down there, but eventually they ended up doing that. I don't know if you automatically thought in January that Mike Woodson was coaching his last year. I think there was a stretch where then you thought, Derek, okay, it's over.
But what I'm saying is, if you are the Indiana management, you are the Indiana brass, and going into the year that it's a big year for Mike Woodson, and you go down there and you watch them get absolutely dunked off the floor, embarrassed against Louisville, who at that time we didn't know a lot about and there wasn't a lot of expectation about.
Be good, just like West Virginia.
And then you turn around 2 nights later or the night later, whatever, and Gonzaga blows you off the floor. Yeah. Then at that point, Indiana could have been like, yeah, okay, clearly it's over.
Look, I'm playing devil's advocate, but you're right. That's a defensible argument. But, kind of going back to it, you mentioned Louisville. Or Kentucky with Mark Pope. Those were not their first choices or second choices or third choices. And there's no way that Darren DeVries is your first choice in Indiana, right? But those guys were successful. I mean, Pat Kelsey was successful. Pope was successful, and you would assume that they'd be able to keep that up. There's no reason why Darren DeVries can't succeed.
I'd agree.
At Indiana. And his teams do what Archie and Woodson's teams didn't do, which is positive. They make free throws. They can shoot.
Right.
They
play a fast-paced open style offensively, but then defensively they will really
Indiana hasn't had a team that could shoot since Crean. So, that'll be a nice change for them. This antiquated too big style, he's not going to play that. He's going to do like 4 out and they're going to shoot and his kid is a good player. And they'll get other good players. Good. I mean, he had 3 4-star recruits. He had a top 25 recruiting class in West Virginia. What do you think it's easier to recruit to, IU or West Virginia?
Right.
Especially when you can write a check for $1.5 million to your 4th best player right now. So we'll see. I'll be interested to see who they keep. Because just because Mbako and Renew are in the portal doesn't mean that they won't come back.
You're right.
His offense seems to actually fit Mbako, but Mbako might just be looking, he was kind of a disappointment. He might be looking to just go somewhere else.
Well, I saw he's also entering his name in the draft, and I'm like,
yeah, I mean, guys just do that. I heard for Gabe Cup, State Fair Community College might be interested. So, no, I'm just kidding. That's mean, but I've never felt like he's a Big Ten player. So maybe he takes a big leap and stays at Indiana and becomes a really good player.
Listen,
but I've never seen it with Gabe Cup.
I love Indiana alumni and fans. I guess I now live one of those lives. I lived the other at one time passionately. Gabe Cups, he's the poster child of let's slow our roll on recruiting. When he committed, it was like, dude, wait till Gabe Cups just makes winning plays. This guy's just a winner. LeBron loves him. Yeah, okay.
In his defense, he got thrown in the fire in the first year, right? He was on the floor when he shouldn't have been. Indiana had no choice but to put him on the floor, but he just didn't scream Big Ten player to me. I mean, Bryson Tucker is a talented guy, and he kind of fell out of the rotation, and we'll see. The Goody thing is a big one because if you get Goody back,
he fits. He's also,
but more than that, I think he's like your emotional leader type guy. Like Luke Goody gets it, and I think Indiana fans like that because they haven't had a lot of players that have gotten it. And then you'll lose Galloway because he's 17 years is enough for college eligibility, and you'll lose Ballo. But I don't think just because 4 guys are in the portal that all 4 of them are gone. I think there's a chance 1 or 2 of them return, especially with Indiana's NIL coffers.
That's fair.
Got a lot of money. Time for our Hoagie and Hero of the Week.
By the way, I'll start by talking about the chili water because I want to get into it. The One Hop Wonder, which is awesome. Chili water, of course, fine ales and lagers. They have 2 locations, one in Fountain Square. The other one is attached to Hoagies and Hops at 42nd in Boulevard. Is that right?
That's right. You've heard me.
I did not hear you.
You heard me.
I love the One Hop Wonder is great because it's got the IPA hop to it. But I'm gonna do. Do you remember Larry Hawley? Did you know Larry Hawley?
Yeah, sure I do. I still follow him on Twitter. He's in Chicago. He's a great guy.
He does.
The porch beer reviews.
Yeah, which is always fun.
Balcony
right?
beer reviews.
But he does this. Yeah. He's always like, "Let me show you this," and he holds the can way too close to the camera.
It's always blurry. Yeah.
And then he turns around and he's like, but he does a review. Now we should do this more like Larry does, where he takes a sip. So this is the Chili Water One Hop Wonder. It's an IPA, an India Pale Ale, 6.9% ABV. Now he does this. You really notice the flavor that hits right away in the first taste. This is how Larry does it. I taste the hops. The hops really come out. And then he looks. It's a very smooth One Hop Wonder, but I like the smooth nature of it. It doesn't have the natural bite that an IPA has. It goes down certainly a little bit more refreshing. Then he takes one more. Yeah, the flavor definitely comes through there. But it is. It's very good, right?
It is very good. I like it a lot.
I love IPAs, by the way. And
one of their core beers, one of their pillar beers.
For sure. And again, smooth as can be. And chili water, it goes without saying. When you're talking about chili water, you're talking about, brewing it right there and fresh as can be, chili as can be. I love the Fountain Square location as well.
Hero of the Week. Or sorry, Hoagie of the Week. We'll get to Hero of the Week.
Derek, you just dropped meat.
Oh, I did. It is the brotherly love. So you got a ton on this bad boy. You got some salam, you got some ham, you got some chopped turk, Dietz and Watson meats, delicioso, plus LTOOO, and a little prove. Wrap
lettuce,
up in a little
tomato,
LTOOO, yep. And Licio's bread from South Jersey.
What are the OOs?
How do you not know this by now? How long have we been doing this?
Derek.
We've got Hoagies and Hops on this show for 3 years. And you don't know the condiments yet?
Derek, this program always has new audience members. The reason, one of the areas where you fall short in what we do is sometimes for people like Hoagies and Hops, which, believe in us, they want us to spread their word, and we are more than grateful for that, right? They've been great partners for us. But one of the things they want is we are bringing in new audience members each and every show. We need to, for those folks, refresh them on what it is that we're eating that is so fresh and refreshing. So in this case, can you please explain for those who may not be previously familiar? Of course I know. But John Q. Public watching, they need to know. That's who Hoagies and Hops wants to make sure they know. So.
Can I ask you a question just before I do that? Why are you the way that you are?
Because I think things through. It wasn't raining when Noah built the ark. Of the two of us, somebody needs to have the foresight to grab the bull by the horns and say, this is what our partnerships are supposed to be for.
Okay.
See?
So the condiments on this. L. What do you guys at home think L means on a sandwich?
Of course.
What do you think it means? Lettuce. All right. T. What do you think T means? It's red. It's on most sandwiches. Tomato.
Okay.
What do you think O could be? Orville Redenbacher popcorn? You think you'd put that on a sandwich? What would the O stand for? Okra? No, it's onion.
But then you said O and O.
No, I didn't say O and O. I said O. If you watch any cooking show, let's put a little O in there. What are they referring to? Olive oil. Duh.
Oregano?
Oregano?
Isn't that like some sort of a spice?
Oregano?
Oregano, yeah.
Some delicious oregano on this sandwich, too. No, olive oil.
Cook?
Hero of the Week. I think you can go in a couple of different directions. What sucks is that we don't have like a little guy to give this to from the NCAA tournament.
Oh, wait a minute. We have one right here.
I don't like where the vibe is going on the show today. I don't like it. I would say tread lightly.
O and O spells,
okay.
No.
Yep. All right. Just tread lightly. The rest of the show here. There's some that I can let pass. There's some that I'm going to have to throw down for. John Calipari? Is it weird to say the Hero of the Week is John Calipari? Because, you had expectations at Arkansas. That's why you take that job. You have the budget and the assets and all of that. But then you start 0-5 in the league. Everybody thinks that you're done.
I believe I have a clip here. Go ahead.
And you come back and you make the Sweet 16.
Nice burp.
You beat, sorry, I was clearing my throat. You beat Bill Self and Rick Pitino to get there. Your old rival, Ricky P. And I think Calipari has a little bit of the last laugh here. Not with Kentucky. I think Kentucky's happy they moved on. I think Calipari's happy they moved on. That relationship had reached its expiration date. There's not a winner and a loser out of the Calipari UK thing. UK is better for moving on. Calipari is better for moving on. But you still want to prove that you still have it. And the fact that he's gotten this Arkansas team to resurrect its season and then get to the second weekend, I think he deserves some credit for that.
I have right here before me pulled up a clip from last week's show. You ready? See if this will play. See if this picks up. Oh wait, I got to unmute my phone. Hang on. Okay, here we go. This is last week.
Yes. Yeah. I would not want to face Arkansas. Now Arkansas's got Kansas, right?
I think they do, but
didn't Arkansas knock Kansas out last year? Was it last year or 2 years ago?
They beat him in the Sweet 16. Musselman, when he was there.
Was that 2 years ago?
That was
2 years ago?
2 or 3 years ago. I don't remember what year.
Arkansas, Calipari, this is what he does, right? You get 5 young players. They gel by the time late January, early February. I would not want to face Arkansas.
He has not been good in the tournament lately, though.
I know.
He has not been good in the tournament lately.
Would not want to face Arkansas.
Had a stretch of ridiculous.
Just telling you. We talked about it, right?
picked
Although
Arkansas.
they do have veterans on there as well. But
Good call.
to your point, though, that's not a true 10 seed, right? I mean, it's
Well,
like.
yeah, and what I think hurt St. John's is they were so defense-centric.
They couldn't score.
They reminded me of those Virginia teams.
Couldn't score, yeah.
That fell short. And if you're super heavy defensive in this tournament, you usually don't have success. You need to be able to score to advance in this thing. And I feel bad for Pitino. It was a great story. But to me, the program peer for Indiana, a lot of people want to talk about Kansas and Duke and all that. It's Arkansas.
Oh, yeah. Or Iowa State.
And that's kind of how I feel. Like they should at least be around where Arkansas has been the last 7 or 8 years.
Have you been to Arkansas?
No. That's one state I've never been to.
It's beautiful. Arkansas is a beautiful state. Very underrated.
Yeah.
Northwestern Arkansas is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's like the Ozarks and stuff, right?
Yeah. And then like Little Rock is kind of cool.
Yeah. It would probably be on my list if you gave me 5 states that I would never want to live in. A lot of them are located in that region of the country.
I'm going to guess the 5 states Derek does not want to live in, which is actually means the 5 that I probably would consider. Arkansas is one of yours. Oklahoma.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to guess that Nebraska makes your list.
Yep.
Okay. That one fellow we met from Nebraska was a nice guy, though, during the Big Ten
He
tournament.
was, yeah.
I'm going to say that Kansas makes your cut.
There's one more on there.
North Dakota.
Wrong region of the country. This is number 1 on my list.
Mississippi.
Yeah, it's number 1.
Really?
Yeah, would definitely not want to be in Mississippi.
Okay. Third nice. Oxford, Mississippi, nice town.
I'm sure it is. Every national ranking for Mississippi is like 50th. Like all of them. All the ones that you don't want to be 50th in.
Right.
Like health, like quality of life, like all that stuff is actually kind of sad.
Happiest state in the country, though.
And I'm throwing stones from a glass house here because Indiana ranks pretty poorly in a lot of categories too, overall. But if you gave me the 5 states, it'd be those plain states, and then like what I consider the deep South / Southwest. Oklahoma, for me, it's the tornadoes. I've always been like deathly afraid of that, even as an adult. I don't like it when the tornado sirens go off. It makes me on edge.
North Dakota wouldn't.
Yeah, North Dakota wouldn't be.
The winters would suck so bad, man.
But there are like redeemable qualities about pretty much every state, right?
I'd
like
agree.
even you mentioned Arkansas. Arkansas is I wouldn't want to be in West Virginia. West Virginia is beautiful.
Man, West Virginia.
It's gorgeous.
So
I would
pretty.
not want to live in West Virginia, but it's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to live in Vermont. And my wife's family's from there, and it's gorgeous. And there's a lot of cool stuff that you could do in Vermont, but I wouldn't want to live there. New Hampshire, nobody even remembers that that's a state.
Live free or die. Isn't that New Hampshire?
Yeah, that's like the one thing that's famous about them.
That's right.
We come back on the show. By the way, 42nd and Boulevard, Hoagies and Hops, Chili Water Tap Room. $900 to MLK Center for their fundraiser on National Cheesesteak Day on Saturday. We went in there with some friends, so congratulations to Christina and her team. We come back on the show. We will get into the red-hot Pacers, who are putting themselves in prime playoff position with the way that they've been playing. So don't go anywhere. It's Corey and Schultz, presented by Bailey & Wood Financial Group here on the ISC Sports Network.
going to tonight?
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in. It's going to be a long night.
Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey & Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. Rolling along here. Query and Schultz, presented by Bailey & Wood Financial Group and the ISC Sports Network. Jake already kind of gave the spiel about Bailey & Wood, but once again, BAWFG.com, 855-350-HOME. Whether you're looking to get that pre-approval for a home mortgage or refi, you can do so with Mike Wood and his great team, 5-star customer service like Bailey & Wood Financial Group. From college to the pros, Pacers keep rolling. They got another big win over Minnesota, completed a season sweep of the T-Wolves. Really impressive win.
Pretty emphatic.
Yeah. It was a 15, 20-point game for a majority of it. But 5 straight wins now. They are 2 games up on Milwaukee for the 4 seed, who lost last night in Phoenix. We're taping this early Tuesday morning. And only 2.5 back of the Knicks for the third. And that's with 11 games left. But, we talked about it last week, that crazy win in Minnesota where they were down 6 guys, and Obi Toppin had a great game. They turned it around against basically Dallas's G League team, and you thought, oh, God, are they going to give it all back here?
Right.
And they find a way to win because of that steal in the Andrew Nembhard 3.
This guy right here would have been a perfectly sufficient nominee also for our Hero of the Week, because Obi Toppin, not to cut you off there, Derek, sorry, but Obi Toppin, I just love the fact that he is the one guy that seems to deliver on each night whichever role that they need from him. You know what I mean? Like if they need him to shoot threes, he's a really good three-point shooter for them. If they need him just to rebound and defend, he'll do that. If they need a highlight dunk from him, he's got it. He is turning out to be an extremely valuable player. I mean, he's almost like a 6th man of the year level candidate at times, the way that he is able to give them a lift.
17 points per game during this winning streak, and he's 17 of 29 from 3. Like, every time he puts it up, you think that it's going in. But, the 5 games, again, in Minnesota, shorthanded Dallas, home for Brooklyn. That was a game that they should have lost. The first one. Because that was, Sega Baba, and you emptied the tank against Dallas, and you thought, okay, this is a tough situation because you emptied the tank, Sega Baba, quick turnaround, and you get a big Sega Baba win over Brooklyn, and then you get a couple of nights off. So
over
it wasn't
who?
Brooklyn.
Thank you.
So it wasn't a Sega Baba in the second game against the Nets, and then you take care of the Timberwolves last night. But Pacers still have a pretty advantageous schedule left. They still have the Thunder. They've got a couple of tough games.
This week is tough because you've got the Lakers here.
The Lakers too, yep.
But then you've got to turn around the next night and go to Washington, which is the proverbial trap game.
It is, but they're truly terrible, Jake. You have Utah left as well. You've got 2 games left against the Wizards, Utah and Charlotte. So if you take care of those...
Charlotte's been a boogaboo for them, though. But
yeah, that's
Brandon
true.
Miller out helps.
But you take those 4 off the table, suddenly if you're 2 games up with 7 left, you're feeling pretty good about where you are. Because that's what it would be if the Pacers were to win all 4 of those games. So they've put themselves in a very, very good spot here. But, Aaron Nesmith's playing well. Like, it's just all coming together for them right now. And they're having the season that I think we expected them to have. I mean, if you really take it since they were 10-15, they lost to Charlotte at home. So beginning of December, they were 10-15, and you look at what the Pacers have done. They've had a terrific stretch here.
They have.
They've really played good basketball.
And a big part of that, too, is Tyrese Halliburton's rolling. And when he's rolling, they're very, very difficult to beat.
He's been much better.
Right.
And he's still the elite playmaker that you want him to be. There are other areas where I think he can improve, but overall, I think you got to be very happy with where the Pacers are right now.
I think, I heard Rick Carlisle say about Halliburton, it's interesting that when he, in his early days of coaching, not necessarily his early days of coaching, but the early career of Luka Doncic, Rick Carlisle had learned, because he'd had Jason Kidd before that, to let point guards, if they have the ability to create, to let them dictate what happens on the floor, as opposed to trying to, Jalen Brunson, for example, with Tom Thibodeau, you would assume probably is very told specifically the parameters by which to play. And I think they've kind of handed the reins over to Halliburton and said, you run things. And so far, it's obviously going well for them.
Yeah. So we'll see if they can keep it up here, because if they could get home court advantage, that'd be great.
Who would the 6 be as of right now?
Detroit.
And the 4-5 would be Milwaukee
Pacers, which would be, sign me up. That'd be fun.
That would.
Not because Milwaukee's not good. I'm just saying,
right.
like, sign me up, because that would be That's become a thing. Pacers Bucks is a thing
You're
for
right.
both fan bases,
You're right.
which is fun.
Yeah, but I'd rather.
And I don't think they like each other. I don't think the guys on the court like each other.
The Pacers and Pistons don't like each other either.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
So, either way, it's gonna be fun. Be a fun spring.
Should be fun. Yeah. And I'm not worried about the whole like Boston, Cleveland, whatever thing. Just make the playoffs, host a series, win a series, take it from there. That's the baseline for me for the Pacers. If the Pacers can get back to the second round and then cause a headache for somebody else, great. I think that they don't have to get back to the conference finals again. Not in my mind.
It'd be great if they did.
It'd be great if they did.
Pacers and Racers, baby.
It'd be great if they did.
Bring it
but
on.
They don't have
Bring it on.
to do that. They don't have to do that. Let's do quick turnaround to another. We went long in the first segment. We come back. Quick hits. What are you doing?
Quick turnaround.
Okay. Yeah, we're not done yet.
That wasn't very.
Quick hits. We still got Chateau Kitchen's Bite or Bull Bleep, and we will tie a bow on this thing. Corey and Schultz, episode 229. I don't know what Jake's doing with his chair. He's gonna bring
It's a
the
quick
chair
turnaround
on the ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride.
That was weird. Vince gave us a 7 count. All right, 7 seconds into your. Okay. Hi, we're back. 7 seconds later, it's Corey and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network. He's Jake. I'm Derek. Vince is back there. Rake is back there. Jordan's hanging around back there. Is all PO'd because we're not talking about baseball because this is technically opening week.
I don't
for Major League
understand this.
Baseball.
Sorry, that Hoagies Hops is so good.
No, it's good. Yeah, it's good.
Our friend Will Fleming is now doing things
Red
with
Sox.
The Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
They were in Mexico.
Oh, were they?
Maybe I saw it wrong,
Okay.
but I
Have
thought
they played a game that counts? I thought only the Japan games.
you know
have
what?
counted
Maybe
so
I
far.
maybe I read it wrong. Actually, I take that back. I think it was that there was a Mexican themed party going on before the Red Sox game, wherever they were in spring training.
Okay.
But either way, he
think they're in Fort
posted
Myers.
a fun video that just said I should go to Mexico because look at this great party before our game. Either way, I thought, oh wait a minute, so the Red Sox season's probably begun because the Cubs and Dodgers have already played 2 games, and that was a week ago, and we're still a week away from other teams. What are we doing here?
Thursday is the opening day for most teams, but you play those international games, and it kind of zaps in. I think baseball has at least reorganized to have a somewhat of an opening day.
Derek,
Whereas a couple years ago, they had games everywhere, and it was weird.
I was thrilled. Now, who's going to be in Cincinnati? It just says, I'll be in Cincinnati. Rakestraw is going to be in Cincinnati. Opening, and look, I'm a Reds fan too, and I love the history of opening day in Cincinnati. I mean, it's their carb day, right? But it bothers me that that's no longer the opening day
I know,
for
it
all
kinda
of Major League
stinks,
Baseball.
yeah.
But either way, the Major League Baseball I saw finally the other day. MLB did a TikTok or whatever video where they started with different players with the phone. And they're like, hey, I've got so-and-so's phone. Hang on, I'm going to hand it over to Mike Trout. Actually, Trout was the last one they did. But all of it, literally, it was 12 different players. And I thought, oh, my gosh, Major League Baseball's promoting players.
Yeah.
They're promoting stars.
Amazing.
I mean, there are very good young players in Major League Baseball, but people just don't know who so many of them are.
It's just, it's just one of those things where it's more nationally relevant than hockey, but it's become hyper-regionalized. And Indianapolis doesn't have a team, a Major League team. And when you don't have a Major League team and you're not in a market that has a Major League team, it's just not on the radar,
Derek,
especially right now when we've got 10,000 other things going on.
We just did states you wouldn't want to live in.
Yeah.
Give me 5. I know that you grew up a Yankees fan. Give me 5 Major League teams that oddly, you kind of like them and you pay somewhat attention to what they're doing.
Well, I don't pay attention to a lot of things anymore. A team that I've always kind of liked. I've always kind of liked the Brewers.
Okay.
Fun logo, beer slide.
That's cool, yeah.
Yeah. Robin Yount, mustache, the whole deal. Let me try to think of other teams. The Tigers are cool. I love the Old English D. Their old stadium was on the intersection of a road and Trumbull Street, and Trumbull's where I grew up, so I always thought that was cool. Big Cecil Field, they're launching home runs out of there. I I don't know if anybody else really comes to mind.
Okay, for me,
honestly.
cute fella.
The Cubs were until I started like interacting a lot with Cubs fans, and now I don't really like the Cubs anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it gets a fly the W. Okay.
Yeah.
Cute fella.
Yeah,
goes
sure. I
outside.
knew that.
Athletics.
Okay, yeah.
The White Sox.
I just feel sorry for the White Sox. Yeah, I feel sorry for
That's
them.
our thing. Like we go to Shan and I go to a game every year, and they're terrible. So I kind of like the White Sox. I think you know that when I was a kid growing up, my American League team was the Blue Jays.
Mm-hmm.
So nostalgically, I still kind of will like see what the Blue Jays are doing. And then I hate to say this, but the other one for me, I've always kind of liked the Dodgers.
Yeah, it's iconic, right?
I mean,
the LA is the most iconic hat, I think, in baseball.
And just the uniforms are so clean. Yeah. And if you ever go to a game at Dodger Stadium, you're like, yeah, I mean, there's no.
It doesn't get better than that, right?
Correct.
Yeah. No, I know the Dodgers are like the big kid on the block now, but I've always kind of liked the Dodgers too. I know
Astros would be up there for me, but they redid their imaging. Can't do it now. They look too much like the Diamondbacks.
They kind of went. They steered it back the other way a year or two ago, and I kind of like their uniforms now. I can't root for the Astros because the trash can stuff.
You think that's real?
They're just obnoxious.
You think that was real?
Oh yeah, I think that's 100%. I think the only defense for the Astros is that a lot of other teams were trying to cheat too. Like the Yankees had a whole like Apple Watch thing going on in their dugout where they're trading signs and things like that. And yeah, so I think other teams were doing it too, but I think the Astros were the kings of it. Yeah.
You hit the trash can 3 times, curveball coming.
Quick hits. Did you see the Juju Watkins injury?
Yeah.
Yeah, bummer. One of the real stars of college basketball, men's or women's.
May I ask a dumb question?
Done for the year, yeah.
I'm embarrassed to ask this. I'm going to hide. Does she have eligibility remaining?
Yeah. She's a sophomore.
Okay.
Yeah, she's young still. Yeah.
Because you want,
yeah.
Great player.
She's
though.
young. Her team rallied and still made the Sweet 16, but now they're title up. I think they're in the same region with UConn, so that's going to make it
UCLA the favorite in the women's game.
Yeah.
Right?
And then South Carolina's really good. They're not as good as
South
last
Carolina
year,
defeated
but they're
Indiana,
really good and knocked
yep.
out. Yeah. But you know what, Jake? If your baseline at Indiana is a second round
solid
loss,
year for Indiana.
Yeah, to a top 5 team.
They had
then
injuries,
fine.
and then with Sydney Parrish was.
I watched them play against Butler, and I was like,
yeah.
they're not going to make the tournament.
They turned it around in the right direction for sure.
Did a nice job. So it sucks for Juju Watkins. You lose one of your real stars on that side of the bracket. It's a shame. You see her crumple down on the floor. It's just awful.
It was tough.
Awful stuff. Congratulations to Fisher's Hoops. We're not done yet with the season. State is this weekend, but Tigers won their 40th straight game. They steamrolled through some overmatched Northern competition, which happens a lot in when you talk about the Indy teams.
They got a good matchup, though, for the state finals, though.
Yeah, I think so. 69-1 overall in the last 2 seasons combined. And they've got Jeffersonville, who won the Newcastle Regional, knocked off LN.
That's a really good player, yep.
And Jeffersonville is riding a 17-game
What did you say, how many for Fishers?
40 in a row. But they're 69-1. Oh, is it 43? Then I counted wrong. I went through their whole schedule, and I did it. I thought it was 40.
What are we doing here? Yeah. You just counted on your hands?
Well, they won state last year, right? So I was continuing from last year. And then the loss last year was like the middle of the season at some point. And I thought it was I thought they had won 30 this year and then 10 last year. Is that wrong?
I don't know. I'm just going by I think Rakestraw knows.
John Harrell's site can't be wrong. Maybe my math is wrong. That's the problem. That's the operator.
John Harrell or John Herrick?
John Harrell. That's the operator error for me. Yeah, they're 30-0. Okay, I knew they were 30-0 this year. But I thought it was 10 from last year. Hold on, let me go. Recent seasons, past years. I swear, I did this last night. I got out of the shower. I was in my bathrobe. 1, 2, 3,
Thank
4.
goodness we don't have a picture of that. 5th longest streak in Indiana High School Athletic Association.
Oh, I think I know what I did. I don't think I accounted for the sectional games, too. I must have... Okay, so Rake's right. Yeah, unsurprisingly, Rake's right. But I wanted to see what I did to screw that up.
Greg's going to be doing the game, Derek.
No. Yeah. No, I wasn't looking this up to see if Greg was wrong. I knew that he was right, but I wanted to see where I got it wrong. And I think that must have been where I misread it. Because they won state last year, so it was a continuance of last year. This win streak. It's really impressive, right? 69
this just in.
70.
Derek disagreeing with Jim Nance about master stats.
Fine. Just whatever. Then you do quick hits. then you prep something for quick hits. No, if you touch me again, you're in real trouble.
There's your quick hit, buddy
If you touch
boy.
me again, you're in real trouble.
There's your quick hit, huh? Alex Pillow is absolutely on fire, by the way, winning. And speaking on fire, it was about that in thermal. It was very warm there. But he is right now as locked in as any driver in any series in motorsport, winning his second consecutive race, 2 for 2 for the IndyCar season. But the fashion in which he did it, taking a late pass of Pato Award and then winning, going away from there. Very early to say it, Derek. We're still, 3 races to go before then. But so it sounds a little ridiculous to say it, but no surprise here. But Alex Pillow is going to be a heavy, heavy favorite for the Indy 500.
It's just one of those situations, and it's a lot like all these other guys that we've been waiting for. Newgarden, a Will Power before him. He's maybe better than those guys. I mean, he's so good. He's too good to not eventually win the Indy 500.
Yeah.
I understand it's luck and
I would
circumstance,
agree.
and there's a lot that goes into winning the 500. He is too good to not win that race.
Right. I would agree with that.
Too good. And that's not to say that Michael Andretti wasn't great, but he will. Alex Pillow, if he stays in IndyCar, will win the Indianapolis 500 at some point. I don't think I'm going out on a limb. Might not be this year, but it will happen. I mean, he's unbelievable.
He's really good.
He's unbelievable. And the other thing about it, Jake, is that we're not talking 20 years ago when you looked at the paddock and you were like, all right, let's see. There are 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 5 guys that can win this race. Every single week, there's probably double that, right? And he's still steamrolling everybody. I mean, you almost look at these other drivers like, Pato or anybody else who's unbelievable, right? And super talented. He's like, how do I stop this guy? What do I do to put my car in front of this guy? He's been amazing. And, one guy that I remember that was real, banging the table about Pillow. I don't remember how you were about it, but Nick Yeoman, I remember, was like, this guy's going to be unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's a superstar. I was like, it was kind of soft-spoken. You're like, okay.
I had a feeling he was going to be really good when I talked to Mike Hull, who's the managing director for Chip Ganassi Racing. And Hull explained to me that when they discovered Alex Pillow, he was racing in a series in Japan that they found to be one that was extremely technical and that required a lot of driver discipline and feedback about cars, and that's how they knew that this guy. And so in his rookie year, he was driving for Dale Coyne. He ran out of money fairly quickly. And I remember at Mid-Ohio talking to Pillow, and he's like, man, I have nothing for next year. And a couple of other drivers I asked around, and they're like, oh, no, he's very highly thought of. That guy can bend a wheel. He's very, very good. And then when Ganassi signed him with virtually no money bringing to the table, that's when you knew, okay, this guy's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, that says a lot,
Yeah.
too. But how about, Dale Coyne? They find all these guys, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
that's
great.
that's just how it works. We come back on the show, Chateau Kitchen's Bite or Bull Bleep, and we will see you later. It's Corey and
What
Schultz,
was that?
ISC Sports Network. You just touched me, which I didn't like.
Okay, well, deal.
Hey, AC, which games are we going to tonight?
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in, it's going to be a long night.
Bailey and Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
Hey, AC,
Nice snap.
mortgages and a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. It's Corey and Schultz. Maybe just one more addition to the quick hits list. Do you remember when we had Josh Pastor on the show? Mm-hmm. I think it was when IU was playing Georgia Tech in the NIT, and they were about to fire Crean. And we did 30 minutes with Josh Pastor, and I was like, I really like this guy. He was super, talking to him off the air, he was super nice. He just took the job at UNLV. So, kind of, I don't remember the circumstances around Memphis. I think they just felt like they weren't winning enough. Right? They were pretty good, but not great. And he was the hot shot. He was a Calipari assistant, right, on those
Correct.
UK teams, and was a hot shot.
He was a student manager at Arizona when they won the national title, and and Lute Olson really talked up how oh man, he does scouting reports.
He's a wonder kid, right? He's a sharp guy, and he's still only 47. So now we'll have another chance at the head coaching ranks. So good on Josh Pastor.
Sean Miller's at Texas.
Yeah,
that was one of those.
How about Sean Miller using Xavier as a stepping stone twice? Pretty awesome. Yeah, pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, if you're not moving, you're dying. Hopefully you're not moving. Maybe you want a home improvement project in your house so you don't have to move. That's where Chateau Kitchens comes in.
Or if you are moving into a house that needs some work done.
Well, that too. Yep, that too. ChateauKitchens.com, at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook for before and after pictures. In-home transformations. That's what they're in the business of doing at Chateau, and they are awesome at it. So give Steven and his crew a shout for your estimate on your kitchen, your bathroom, your basement, whatever you've got going on inside of the walls there with Chateau Kitchens. Jake, statement number 1. Here we go. All 4 1 seeds will make the Final Four. Bite or bold bleed?
Bold bleed, because Tennessee's going.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. You know, they've never been.
I know.
Isn't that crazy? They've had a lot of success.
They were the only team, I believe, ranked in the top 12 heading into the tournament in the AP rankings that had never been to a Final Four.
I mean, the odds are that that's not going to happen. But when you really look around, Duke especially, and even I think Houston, I think Kentucky is good.
They are.
I think Tennessee's very good.
Yeah, they are.
I think Purdue's just good. I don't think that region is particularly difficult, but they're playing road games. Like if Houston gets, well, it's not if. Houston will play a road game against Tennessee or Kentucky if they get by Purdue.
Correct.
And obviously they're going to play a road game against Purdue. I mean, there'll be Kentucky and Tennessee fans everywhere. Like people don't realize Tennessee fans go everywhere.
Downtown's going to be awesome this weekend.
Tennessee is a great athletic department when it comes to the fan support that they get. It's a top 5 or 6 fan following. I'm also going to say bold bleed because the percentage odds say no, but I wouldn't be surprised. This would be the type of tournament to have all 4 1s because it's been so.
Right.
But I think Maryland might. I'm worried now because UConn gave them a fight, but I had Maryland in my 4.
Did you really?
Yeah, I just think.
Why not, right?
Yeah, Derek Queen. I mean, they've got like NBA got level guys, and if he's allowed to take 30 steps for every shot, then they got a great chance.
Well, it's the NBA.
Yeah, well, it's not, but it is, I guess. The Pacers will be wearing home jerseys for their first-round playoff series. Bite or bold bleed?
I'm going to buy that. Well, I don't. Yeah, I'll buy it.
I think they've put themselves in that position. Yeah, just watch. They're going to lose 5 in a row.
Well, they're going to have minimum 3 games at home, either way.
No, but like that's what
you
that
didn't say it that way. You just said they'll be wearing home. I mean, they're not going to get swept on the road. And then not be able to come home. They're going to Pacers are going to host a playoff game. I'm confident in saying that, so I will buy it.
That's not the question.
Well, it is. You said the Pacers are going to wear their home jerseys.
The Pacers will be wearing home jerseys at the beginning of their first round playoff series. Was the question?
At the beginning, did you say it that way?
Yes. When you roll the tape, right at the start of their first round.
Anymore though, if it's like one of those city games, does it really matter?
Actually, you're right. They don't always wear white.
I know,
when
it's
they're
weird.
At home.
It's weird.
I just don't like it when they. I don't like it when they wear something dark and the other team wears white. That's what I don't like.
Correct.
Like it's fine if the Pacers wore yellow and the other team wears white. I'm not as thrown off by that. I don't know. There's something about the dark versus white when you're hosting the game that is problematic to me. But I'm kind of old school when it comes to that. Final one. We're about to enter one of the best stretches of sports of the entire year. Bite or bold?
Oh,
it's great, right? Masters.
I mean, it's
Final Four. Baseball starts. Racing season's here.
You get into the 500.
Yeah.
Anything that, if you're including May within your statement there, then yes, 100%.
I'm not including May.
October's pretty tough to beat.
Mid-March to mid-April, I think, is an elite stretch.
September, October's pretty strong.
That's the other great one. Like
World Series, college
late
football
September,
getting in gear.
mid-October.
NFL starting to get crisp.
Yeah. But then again, mid-September to late October is my favorite stretch of the year, period, just for weather and everything like that. So it's a good one. Thanks to all of our great sponsors like Chateau Kitchens right behind me here. Our presenting sponsor, Bailey & Wood Financial Group. Our friends at Hoagies and Hops and Chili Water Brewing as well. And we can't wait to have American Dairy Association Indiana on with us starting next week. We're excited about that. Month of May is almost here, brother.
They've got special bottles coming around for the month of May. It's going to be
awesome.
great.
We're going to talk all about
Winners
it.
drink milk.
For Vince, for Rake, for Jordan, for everybody else, bye. We'll see you next time here on Corey and Schultz.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride